Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that my son will go to the best school and his kid's education is his responsibility? I'm a 32F with a 5-year-old son. Next April, he'll be starting first standard. Right now, he's in a lovely preschool near our home, but I've been planning for years to send him to the best private school in our area once he's old enough. This isn't just a random choice. It's the same school I attended growing up, and it's also where my late husband studied. We actually met there when we were just kids, and it's a place filled with memories, tradition, and a level of education that's honestly unmatched here. The annual tuition is about $20,000 not in America, which I know is a lot. But I can afford it. When my husband passed away, cancer, just 3 months after our son was born, I was devastated. I thought my whole future had been ripped away. But I had my son, and I had to think about giving him the best life possible. My late husband left us with life insurance, savings, and a house. I work in my parents' business, and I've invested wisely, most of it in my son's name, and some for myself. My son's future has been my first priority ever since. I met my current husband, 38M, 3 years ago. He has 2 children, a 6-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter, from his previous marriage. He and his ex-wife share custody and split the cost of their children's schooling. His kids go to a decent school, nothing fancy but not terrible either. In 2023, we got married and I moved into his house. From the start, we agreed on a few key things. We'd share family expenses like travel, clothes, groceries, and gifts, but when it came to education and savings for our children, we'd each handle our own kids separately. That was made crystal clear before we ever said, "I do." Fast forward to now, my husband suddenly tells me that when my son starts at this prestigious private school, we need to either send all the kids there or send my son to the same school his kids attend. I told him, firmly but calmly, that my son's education is non-negotiable. I've planned for this since before I even met him. His children's education is his and his ex-wife's responsibility. I'm not compromising my son's future, and I'm certainly not taking on another $40,000 a year to send his kids to the same school. That's not what we agreed to when we married. He got defensive. He said he doesn't want his children to feel like second-class citizens compared to my son, who will be going to a much more expensive school. I told him plainly, then he and his ex-wife can make the choice to upgrade their kids' schooling if they want. But that's their decision and their financial responsibility. I'll be honest, another reason I won't send my son to his kid's current school is because of the environment. Even though it's technically a private school, it has a reputation for being a place where spoiled, troubled kids run wild, drugs, bad influences, and families who don't care. I know bad kids exist everywhere, but the school I'm choosing actively expels those kinds of students, and most of the children there come from stable, educated families. I want my son to be surrounded by peers who will push him forward, not drag him down. My husband accused me of being elitist. I told him I don't care what label he uses. As a mother, my son's future comes first. The school I'm sending him to has the resources, the connections, and the track record to help him succeed, just like it did for me and his late father. I want my son to grow up with every advantage possible. Now, my husband is sleeping in the other room. The tension is awful. I miss him, but I'm not changing my mind. I told him before we married that this was my plan. He admits he thought he could change my mind once we were married. And for the record, before anyone asks, yes, I live in his house right now, but it wasn't about saving money on rent. I own a home too, inherited from my late husband, 50-50 ownership with my son, until he's an adult. I also own my parent house, as I'm an only child, and they want us to live in a multi-generational home in the future. When we discussed living arrangements, he wanted me to move into his place. I actually suggested he move into mine. So no, I'm not freeloading off him. In fact, I've paid for family vacations that cost more than what his rental income would have been if I weren't living here. This whole thing has become a bigger fight than I ever imagined. He's saying his kids will grow up resenting my son, and I'm saying that's not my responsibility to fix. He's their father, and it's up to him to make them feel loved and valued without demanding I compromise my son's future. So, am I the a-hole for standing my ground? Update. Well, a day after this post, my husband and I started sorting things out. I had to point out my contributions because he kept blaming me. I pointed out how I spend $50K on vacations. Vacations are not going to compromise. They're my healer. I said since I contribute half of household expenses, he is able to save more money compared to past. I gave him the option to move to either of my 2 houses as his house can go on rent, and he can send stepchildren to better school and people who are lecturing me about public schools. Not everyone lives in America, and private schools are the best source of education here. Also, many asked me to pay rent to my husband on a mortgage-free house. Here I gave him option to live at either of my two houses freely and the rent income to be used for stepchildren. So, what's your point now? My husband said he doesn't want to move because he loves his house. I told him I am not going to pay 40K extra per year, and it is his choice to make. I told him stepchildren have living mom paying for them, but my son has no living dad. I told him he and stepchildren shouldn't go on vacation then, if he wants me to pay 40K, as I will save around 30K on vacations. And he can arrange 10K. Only way I will pay for private school then. He freaked out and said he loves foreign vacations. He said his children will be fine, and he already pays for best tutors. So it is off the table now. Now he is bugging me to plan for next trip already and acting everything is fine. We decided to stay out of each other's children education and savings-related matters. He doesn't want to compromise at all. Why should I be the one to compromise then? I gave him two options, and he took none. To people who said I should treat children equally financially. My son's inheritance is from his father, and if tomorrow we get divorced, will we be in life of each other? If I have one more child, I also have to assure that they get their fair share of inheritance from my side. We eat same food, same clothes, gadgets, etc., but education and my properties are for my legal kid only. And it is what my husband will do too. Also, the vacations I gift are more than the supposed rent that I would have to pay him. So yeah, I am not going to pay him rent. Also, I don't hate public school or poor children. Here, discipline is a thing in private schools, which we lack in public schools. Sure, odds are here and there that my kid might turn wrong ways, but most are in favor. And I will rather be elitist sending my son at safer place than winning argument on internet and filling your socialist fantasies. I want him to get best opportunities and yes, better environment to grow up with family and friends. Am I the a whole?